Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my SEL-Care series. My name is Kim Tran again, and this is micro lesson number 3, Growth Mindset 101 and the Power of Yet. Quick and fitting tidbit about me was that when I was in my PhD program, my dissertation was actually on growth mindset. So literally, dissertations can be written about growth mindset and have been written, and many books have and research studies have occurred with growth mindset as well. To keep this as a micro lesson, though, we're not going to get into every single detail and component of growth mindset, but we're just going to talk about the basics and one micro skill that you can embed and hopefully have your students that you work with and anyone else you're involved with add to their SEL skills as well. So here's a saying that I came up with that has to do with growth mindset. And I'd love the feedback if you would be willing to give it. And if you can see that 3-28, that's for my sports fans, especially ones in the New England area, that really help drive the real life example of growth mindset and the power of it home. So, a little humor to start. Calvin and Hobbes was one of my most favorite books to read growing up, and even now it's pretty funny as well. And this comic strip illustrates growth mindset in a humorous way. And this comic was written back in the 90s, and it's still fitting today. So, I'll give you just a moment to read it. Okay, moving on. So I wanted to go straight into the micro skill, but for those of you that need a refresher or aren't completely familiar with what growth mindset is, it is a concept or even a construct, if you will, created by Carol Dweck. She's been a professor at many prestigious universities, and she's currently uh, a professor and potentially a chair member at Stanford, still continuing the research of growth mindset and its impact in education. So, a couple quick terms to keep in mind when it comes to growth mindset is the difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset. These are two seemingly simple concepts, but have a lot to do with it. I have a lot within each one. But to keep it simple, growth mindset is the ability to embrace adversity, whereas fixed mindset is when adversity hinders your progress and potentially stifles your progress. So the real idea is with growth mindset, you can take challenges and continue working towards your goals and not allowing the challenges and obstacles to stop you from trying to achieve your goal. Whereas a fixed mindset, the struggles and the adversity becomes too much that eventually you either are greatly hindered in achieving your goals or you potentially quit on trying to achieve the goal that you had set because the struggle is just too much for you. And the concept of growth mindset is that we're educating ourselves as well as our students and anyone around us that we are hoping to educate that you do have the ability to move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset if you're not already there. And the other idea concept is that the brain is a muscle that is malleable and can be trained with practice. So practice/studying makes better. Growth mindset isn't about becoming perfect. It isn't about achieving your goal every time. It's about the idea that you can make improvements despite how great the adversity or struggle feels. One other concept that gets overshadowed with growth mindset is strategic and intentional feedback. And to keep this a micro skill lesson, we can't get into everything, but hopefully later on down the road, I can have a micro lesson on specifically strategic and intentional feedback. But feel free to do some research yourself in the meantime, because it's a very powerful, seemingly simple concept as well, but very effective. So let's focus on the power of yet. So growth mindset, despite all the books, despite the dissertations, can be summed up in having the ability to add yet, and then sometimes adding so far to the end of any feeling or struggle. So a common thing you'll hear, or that you'll say yourself sometimes, is this is too hard. So the power of yet would be adding to the end of that and truly believing that this is too hard so far. Or another common saying you'll hear is, I can't do this. And then with the power of yet, you would embrace the concept of, I can't do this yet. And the whole point of that is understanding that you're not defeated no matter how great the struggle feels or even looks like. The idea is that with practice, with studying, with putting full effort into achieving a certain goal, you can continue to make strides. You're not always going to be successful in the terms that you had set originally, but the point is that you can always get closer and closer to the goal that you had set. So why is it important to talk about something so simple as adding yet? Why is that an impact? Well, the whole idea in the big picture is to continue to push the idea that perfection is not necessary, and that struggles and mistakes are not just okay, but sometimes they can make you stronger. They can make you more impactful than you had realized you were. Then you realize the abilities you had. It can help you strive to achieve. It can really evolve you in your skills and in your concept as a person. Struggle is always going to happen, and it's very important to help our students, our colleagues, ourselves to understand as well. And while that seems like obvious, what I've noticed in the years in education that I've been at, or even just being alive in general, that not being perfect and struggling in general is very uncomfortable. And sometimes we can have this misperception that it's not okay to struggle. So that's part of what this power of yet will help accomplish. Another reason why it's important to understand growth, the concept of growth mindset in general, is that it's very important to teach ourselves and our students and anyone else that we work with. You'll hear me say that constantly, that we actually are in control of our mindset. It's very easy to have a great growth mindset most of the time, and we're all human, and we will go into the fixed mindset once in a while. And having an idea of this concept and a reminder and truly believing in it will help us shift from fixed to growth more often than not, more efficiently than not. It's not a common understanding to know that you really do have control of this. Another simple reason why it's important to talk about this is that positive self-talk truly is effective. Try it. Try pursuing a goal and practice giving yourself nothing but negative self-talk and see the difference in your performance as opposed to if you give yourself positive self-talk. Even just having the understanding that you can develop a growth mindset, you can have a growth mindset. Give it a try. I promise you, not only will it make you feel better, but it really will increase your performance if you truly believe in it. But you got to start by saying it. And then last but not least, understanding that the brain is a trainable muscle, and thinking of it in that perspective. Because a lot of our students and even ourselves sometimes might believe that we only have a set amount of skills. We have a finite amount of growth that we have. And in some cases, I mean, I'm not saying that just because I believe I can run a 4-2 40-yard dash that I'm going to be able to do that. But the point that I'm trying to make is that if I set that goal and I understand the concept, the more I train, the more I practice, the more I dedicate, that I can get closer to that is important and it is effective than just saying, oh man, I'm 5'6", I'm not in the greatest shape ever, so why would I even have that as a goal? Two completely different uh, conclusions will happen with those mindsets. I might not get to 4-2, but maybe I can get to 4-5. Who knows? Okay, so how do you embed the power of yet into your daily practices, and how do you teach it to your students and staff and anyone that's around you? So, some pre-learning that or pre-lessons that might have to occur to truly embed this is I would suggest having some kind of visual poster on the basics of growth mindset in your teaching space, just as a reminder, just as something you can go back to. And then if you haven't taught the basics of growth mindset already, I highly suggest you do that. It doesn't have to be a dissertation. It can just be the simple concepts of fixed and growth mindset and the idea that the brain is trainable. That will allow you to truly have an impact when you have to use the power of yet. So some simple, not rocket science ways to embed this is step one. When you hear someone say a statement such as, I can't do this, you can reply by saying something along the lines of, you feel like you can't do this yet. Depending on your relationship with the person, you can even just say yet. And if they have a general understanding of what growth mindset is, sometimes you might have to reteach. They will understand what you're talking about. Maybe they might even understand it without teaching it. This is me just offering my advice. But the concept of yet is super important. One very simple word, very impactful meaning. Step two, when you hear someone say a statement such as, this is too hard, you can reply or help them understand this is too hard so far because of reasons such as the more you practice, the better you'll get at it. The more you learn and study, the better you're going to get at it. So far is very important than just having an official determination that there's no way to achieve any more. Step three, sometimes you have to remind them about growth mindset and fixed mindset. Hopefully you can teach to the point where you can ask people when they're in those zones, do you have a growth mindset right now? Or do you have a fixed mindset? And if they say, I have a fixed mindset, then you can help them understand, give them strategies such as, you're in control. Let's try some positive self-talk. Let's try to regulate. There's all sorts of micro skills that you can add, you can suggest and coach to shift from a fixed to a growth mindset. And then step four, I know we talked about not going over this at the moment, but in this situation, you can say encourage strategically and intentionally. So for the example I had given you earlier as well, with more practice, you will be better at fill in the blank. So that's the power of yet when it comes to growth mindset. And I want to leave you with this concluding statement. Adversity is the source of our deepest growth, and embrace the opportunity. Let me conclude also by saying that I want you to know that when I give you these pep talks or when I get on this soapbox, that I'm not trying to say that the situations that we're currently in are fair or even that they're okay. But what I want to encourage you to understand is that you have a couple options. One, you can stay with the struggle and anxiety and frustration, or two, you can create a growth mindset to try to do the best you can and try to make the most progress you can. So thank you again, everyone. My name is Kim Tran. Feedback is appreciated, and I will see you next time. Take care, everyone. Until then, and stay safe.